Welcome to Only the Greatest Podcast, where we explore the vital connection between fitness and success in all areas of life. We are your hosts, Daryl,
Philip,
Sean,
and our goal is to help you become the greatest version of yourself.
This show is brought to you by our one and only sponsor, which is ourself, OTG Fitness. OTG Fitness is our private personal training gym on the south side of Houston in Webster, Texas. You can learn more about OTG Fitness by visiting otgfitness.com or searching OTG Fitness on any social media platform.
If you happen to find any value in this show, all we ask is that you leave a quick review and mention specifically what helped you out. If you're listening in on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you think may need to hear this.
We're just a couple guys that found life-changing benefits from fitness, and we want to share that with the world. So every single like, mention, and review really does help us out so much. Help us grow this show and everything OTG is about by sharing with somebody today.
And tomorrow.
And next week.
And next week.
Next
so
month.
on. So on.
Yeah. I mean, share it as long as you want.
That would be like a minimum of 7 times.
And then every time you do it, practice front lat spread.
There you go.
After 10 years, you'll
come back to this episode and watch this clip of Sean.
yeah, there you go on YouTube. Yeah, I like the hands.
Oh yeah.
All right, y'all. Let's dive into this one. Mm-hmm. So, Phil with the or was this a Phil or a Sean topic?
Well, you remember the
last one was both of y'all, right?
Yeah. Well, last week Sean came up, but this is just a continuation of what we talked about 2 weeks ago in episode 85, which is just advanced nutrition tracking, getting beyond the basics. Last time we talked about the basics of tracking your nutrition. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure you go back and listen. That's episode 85.
And that'll be a good place to start.
And then what we're talking about today is just a buildup of that, which is kind of just the next level up. And I guess
we're kind of expanding the curriculum now.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll just go ahead.
Once you've mastered the basics.
Exactly. You have to master the basics, which is a huge part of what we're going to talk about first. And that is like, when do you actually take this step to go to the next level, of your education?
So I think first of all, we need to point out that Sean said curriculum.
Can you spell that?
And for that,
I knew that was coming. You know what? I'm not too sure how to spell it off top of my head. I'm going to say that off top of my head. I don't know.
All right, y'all.
Don't worry.
So curriculum. So the first bullet point we have here is when to take your nutrition tracking to this step, when to advance it to what we're about to talk about. And we kind of had a little dialogue before the show, and I'm going to say my piece and I'm going to let Phil take it away. I think that unless you have truly mastered the basics and you have been executing them for an extended amount of time, at that point, you're the only eligible candidate that's the only.
No, you're right. That's a good way to put it. I think that's a great way to put it.
At that point, you will become eligible for this. And because if you don't have the basics down, this is going to be extremely overwhelming. If it's not already part of your routine and part of your life, then this is likely to overwhelm you and may cause you anxiety, may cause you stress, may cause you to quit.
Yep. And I was just talking to everyone at the gym this morning. Sean was there, so he can back me up with this, but it's very important that you don't take too big of a step here.
Sure.
And I want this to be first and foremost. That's why we're talking about it first. If you commit to something that you're not ready for and you don't have these basics under control, you're actually setting yourself up for failure. You're going to demotivate yourself. You're going to feel overwhelmed. And the worst of the worst, you're going to feel like it's impossible.
Yeah. And then,
because you don't need to know this stuff.
You
don't need everything under the sun to reach your goals and to lose 20 pounds or whatever your goal is. You don't need all the details, right? Like we know we live and breathe, but we don't know how oxygen is created in the atmosphere.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't got to hit a home run every time you step up.
I don't want anyone to feel like, it's, all this is too much, and then you just give up on everything. Sure. And that's the worst. You feel like it's impossible, and it's just not the case. But if you have done all the basics, and the couple that I listed here, Daryl, you can spot me on this if you feel like there's a couple that I missed, but I put sleep, exercise consistency, hydration.
Right. And of course, the basics to your nutrition.
Yeah, and
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I didn't put that here, but the basics of nutrition, which is what we talked about last time, which is,
I would say that those are the four most important for sure. If you're talking about basics, have you gotten those 4 things down? Are you sleeping well? Are you exercising consistently and hard, right? It's not just going to the gym, but putting in work while you're there, or running, or whatever your thing is. The consistency of that. And then your hydration and your nutrition basics have been really dialed in to where it's just part of it's a lifestyle habit.
That's right.
At this point, right? You're several weeks in and you've made this change, and it's just who you are now, right? It's just what you do. And then once you're there and you're not seeing your results.
Exactly. And you're unhappy with the results. If you're happy with where you're at and you're good with it, stay there. Stay there. But if you're interested, and that's one of the pros that we have here, is if you're interested in advancing your education on this because you like it, I think that it's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with learning more. And so if you want to advance your education on this, I think that it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
So yeah, we're talking about the pros now, and Phil says you get a more advanced education. And I would like to say that if you, like I said, if you're happy with the results you have right now, stay there. But if you want to improve your physique, if you want to improve your strength, if you want to improve your numbers on your blood test, like if when you go, because I get blood drawn several times a year and talk with a doctor about what she's seeing. If you want to improve these areas, that's whenever you need to take this to the next level, right? So I guess the pro would be that you're going to move your health markers in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. That's a pro to advancing your nutrition.
Yeah. And then the other one that I kind of put here is, even if you fall off later, you don't have this base level.
You have a foundation.
And it kind of makes it, in my opinion, from doing this for a long time, it will make the other stuff seem that much easier.
Sure.
Because you're raising, I don't really know what the word is, but you're like, whenever you get to,
it's like if you woke up every single morning and you got into a 32 degree pool for a year.
Yeah.
And then
when you get into 40, it's not cold anymore.
The god of health and fitness came down and said, you only have to do 50 degrees from now on and you're good. You're going to go 50? Easy. That's hot.
Exactly.
Is this a hot tub?
Yeah.
It's almost like a muscle memory thing.
Right.
It's like, after you go and you're running like a couple miles, like every day. And then by the time it's time for your your 5K, you run 3 miles, 3 and some change, you're knocking it out.
I was trying to think of like a math thing. I was like, remember,
curriculum.
Algebra 1 is difficult at first, but once you go to algebra 2, you go back to algebra 1 stuff, you're like, shit's easy.
Sure.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. But the point is here, last thing on this, and we'll move on.
Okay.
When you're building this house, the foundation is the first thing. You can burn down a house, and guess what? You're going to walk over there. You can burn it down to nothing. And if you go over there and you move the rubble, that concrete foundation is going to be under the rubble,
there.
Right? So keep that in mind, right? Build your foundation, because you can build the skyscraper. If it burns, it's still going to have a foundation.
Yeah.
So this will be that's the foundation, right? Of the basics over and over and over and over. That's where you build the foundation, right?
Yep.
So you can always come back to that.
That's right. Yeah. The foundational things will even feel easier once you kind of go to this level. And then last thing here, do be cautious that overcommitting to something like this can, like we mentioned earlier, lead to confusion, overwhelm. And then the last piece of that whole negativity piece is we don't want anyone creating a bad relationship with food.
Right.
Food is fun. Food is social. Food
is necessary
and nutritious. We don't want to start creating a bad relationship with food. We don't want to be food labeling.
Yep.
We don't want to, hold our lives back because we can't go to dinner with our best friends or, something like that. We don't want to start creating bad relationships with food. If it's a short period of time and you can get through it, awesome. But if you know that you're the type of person that this could get bad, then, you just want to be cautious where you step.
Sure. So we both talked about that in the very beginning, right? So don't overcommit and give yourself anxiety and have that bad relationship.
Yep.
All right. So let's get into calculating the macros here.
Okay.
So I think our first bullet point here, tracking very diligently for 1 week to calculate total calorie intake. I think that would kind of that's more of like an in between. You've been doing the basics over and over and over again. Now, don't change your nutrition, but track it.
That's right.
Start tracking the caloric and macro intake of what you're already doing. So I don't want people to say, oh, well, advanced nutrition is calculating the macros. So I'm going to go based off of this. No, you need to go based off what you've been doing. Has it been working? Has it been not working? Yep. Has it been neutral? Calculate that, and then we're going to start. Then we're going to start tweaking.
And to take a step back to what we were just talking about, before you ever do this, you've probably been plateaued for some amount of time.
Sure.
So let's say you've been plateaued for 8 weeks, which is 2 months. That's a pretty good time frame. Like, ooh, maybe I should try something different and go to the next level.
This just happened to me.
Yeah, perfect. So there's a perfect time to do something like this. Track your intake. This is what my calories are. Make sure that they're accurate 7 days straight. And that's, if you're plateaued there, that's probably a pretty good indication of your maintenance calories. And what we mean by maintenance, we also call it set point. Set point is the weight that's
baseline.
Your body weight that's associated with your maintenance calories is what we call the set point, or I have heard it been called that from multiple people. I think it's a pretty good term for that. Once you find those maintenance calories.
Well, what they are is if you eat that exact amount of calories, you're neither going to gain or lose weight.
That's right.
Your body is going to maintain where it's at.
So, and that's your comfortable set point.
Right. Your body is set right there.
Yeah. You're set there. So once you do that, everything starts from that number.
Yeah.
Because at OTG, we follow a 2-rule method, which is the 2 most important things are your total calorie intake and your total protein intake. If those 2 things are good, everything else will follow that. Yeah, what else you do will follow that. But to kind of continue our calculation here, once you figure out your calories, we need to understand the amount of calories per gram of each macronutrient. Yes. So Daryl, do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So when you're talking about your macros, there's 3 main guys here. We're talking about protein, we're talking about carbohydrates, and we're talking about fat. So everything of any nutritional value, which is most things that you ingest, have some combination. They have one of these 3 or some combination of the 3. So 1 gram of protein is going to be 4 calories. 1 grams of carbs, also 4. Some people argue that I think it's a little bit more.
So,
but it's 4.
Protein is like 3.9.
3.9.
And it's actually a long decimal, because you can
3 point. It's like pi.
Yeah, I remember in college,
pie.
Speaking of,
in one of my classes in school, we burned a pecan to prove its calorie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, to prove the amount of calories in it.
Then that's how it's
called a calorimeter. It's a burn calorimeter. You set something on, because you remember the calories are nothing more than energy.
Right.
Right. So protein has like 3.9, 472, 567 per gram. Carbohydrates are like 4.2,
right.
19, blah, blah, blah.
So 3.9, 4.2.
Yeah. And fats have more than double of each of those at 9
calories. 9 calories and a gram of fat.
And then you have alcohol, which is 7, but we're not talking about that. Just know that there is a 4th macronutrient. We're talking about advanced nutrition tracking. So let's mention it. Alcohol is an outlier. It does have 7 calories per gram. So if you're drinking alcohol, you have to calculate the calories from the alcohol itself.
Right.
Also
the mix.
The mixture.
Whatever,
syrup, soda.
Whatever you're mixing it with.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And we're not talking sugar alcohols. We're talking like liquor, beer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Liquor.
Yeah. Liquor. Yeah. So, okay. So those are your numbers: 4, 4, and 9.
Yeah. Easy math.
So 4 protein, 4 carbs, and 9 fat. That's their caloric net worth, basically. And so let's jump into the next one here. So let's say 2,000 is your regular intake with no manipulation, or with no manipulation of 23. So hold on.
Well, okay. All I was getting at here is if you want a deficit, you go down to 1,700.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever your maintenance is, it's 2,000. You're not up, you're not gaining, you're not losing, and you've decided you wanted to lose you need to go down to 1,1800. If you decided, hey, I want to gain weight here, I'm somebody who's really thin, who wants to be more muscular, you're going to have to increase that up to 2,300 to start, and probably go beyond both of those numbers actually.
Probably.
But that's a good place to start. And because you don't want to go too extreme at first, right? You don't want to go, oh, hey, well, my 2,000 is my maintenance and I want to lose some weight. I'm dropping it to 1,000. You're going to fail.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much. It's going to overwhelm you.
I like to start with 200-300. You can go up, going over 500. Anything over 500 is usually going to be a little much.
Yeah.
Unless you're like in deep bodybuilding type of situations, going more than 500's not really recommended.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be considered like a crash diet, right?
Yeah,
like,
you could say that.
You could say you could call it a crash diet for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, and you're going to crash.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
So how to calculate for yourself. So Phil and I have a little bit different approach here, and I think his is probably more right. But if you're just looking for a basic split, a pretty good one is if you got 100% of your calories, 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. 40, 40, 20 is a decent rule of thumb.
And then what you have to remember, excuse me, if you're using that rule, make sure that you're calculating the calories, not the number, because remember that fat has more than twice the calories. So if you say, if you do it by the macronutrient straight, you're going to be all messed up because fat has more calories.
Sure.
So you have to break it down by macronutrients divided by the calories, right?
So a good rule of thumb is 40, 40, 20.
Yep.
A better one is Phil's, and I'm going to let you take it away. We'll talk about your body weight and versus protein. So
the way that I like to create this baseline, and we'll use 2,000 like Daryl was talking about. Let's say you found that your maintenance is 2,000 and you want to just, instead of changing your calories from the start, you just want to fix your macronutrients. Awesome. Because most people, when you first start doing this, you track that food, usually you're going to realize, man, my protein could be a little higher, carbs and fats could be a little lower. I'm not ready to mess with calories yet. Either way, the math's always going to work the same. It's math, right? It's a law. So we're going to use 2,000, makes the math easier, makes the numbers easier. We can break out a calculator if we need to.
Daryl's ready. Ready to go.
Can we get some zoom and focus?
Ready to go. My boy got the
car. So here's what we're doing. We're going to use 2,000 calories.
Yep.
And we'll use me as an example. We'll make this nice and easy.
General rule of thumb.
This is a general rule of thumb. We're going to use my body weight times 1, which is 1 gram per pound of body weight.
One gram of protein.
And we're talking about protein right now. Yep. So calculate how much protein that I should get, I'm just taking my body weight. So I weigh 210 pounds. So
210.
Yep. So how many calories from protein is that?
So if you got if you weigh 210 pounds and you want 210 grams of protein, you're going to multiply that 210 by 4.
Yep. And how many calories is that?
840 calories from your protein.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Sean, you have a pen?
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. All right. So we have 840 calories from protein.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Next, now that we got the protein under control, is fats.
Yep.
So from fat, we're going to take my body weight.
Yep.
210 pounds, multiply by 0.5.
I got a marker.
That's fine.
Yeah. So you're going to multiply by 0.5, which is you're cutting it in half.
Yep. So
you can multiply by 2, divide by 2, or multiply by 0.5.
Same thing, right?
So we're going to divide by 2.
Yep.
That is 105.
So, 105. And remember, that's going to be grams of fat. So how many calories is that?
So 105 grams of fat times 9.
Yep. Because there's 9 calories in each 1 gram.
945 calories
from fat. Yep. 945.
So now you're going to add that 945 plus your 840 protein.
And what is that?
Plus 840 calories from protein. Got 1785.
1785.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good year.
Yeah, it is. That's the year I was born.
So we have 1,785 total calories that we've accounted for.
Yep.
All right. And let's say that if we go back to step one, I calculated my calorie intake. It needs to be, because it's me. We talked about 2,000 earlier. Because we're talking about me now, let's go ahead and use 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
So let's use 3,000 calories.
Yeah.
Because that's about what my maintenance is, 3,000 to 3,300, depending on running and stuff like that. So let's take 1,785. If 3,000 is my total goal, we need to now subtract the 1,785, right?
Yep. So you're at 1,242.
That's how many.
I'm sorry, that doesn't sound right.
3,000. Yeah.
3,000
minus 1,785.
minus 1,785.
Yep.
No, 1,215.
1,215.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang.
I hit something wrong.
Daryl's better at math than me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't right as soon as I saw it.
Okay. 1,215. So that's how many calories from carbs
you need to get
that are left. So let's divide that number by 4.
1,215. Now we need to divide it by 4. 303 grams of carbs.
Yep. So 303 on the carbs. We had 105 on the fat.
Yep.
And we had 210 on the protein.
Bam.
This is not an exact science,
But it's close.
but it's a very good place to start.
Very good place to start.
So for me, once again, 3,000 calories. I weigh 210 pounds. Times 1 is 210 protein. Times 0.5 is 105 fat. And we did the calculation. I had 1,215 calories left. Divide that by 4. That's 303 grams of carbs.
Math.
That's where we start.
That's where we start.
And once again, it is not an exact science, but it works pretty good for most people when you're getting started. And now is where the real skill comes into play now. That's easy. Anybody can do that. It's pretty simple. It might sound like a lot if you're listening to this for the first time, but it's not that hard, right? No. Daryl and I just did it in like less than 5 minutes.
It's pretty easy.
I have a pen, didn't even need a pen.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. But now we have to actually do it.
Right.
Right.
And the next bullet point is Phil recommends a 2-week minimum. So you're going to figure out what your macros need to be, or you think they need to be, and you're going to hit them as well as the rest of the basics, your sleep, your hydration, and your sleep, hydration, and training. So you're going to hit those 3 plus these exact numbers, right? For at least 2 weeks. I say 4, right? 3.
2 to 4.
2 to 4. And depending on what you see, so let's say you do these macros and you see yourself lose 4 pounds. Oh, you're still going down. I would say you hold it for another 2.
Yep.
You lose 1 more pound. You hold it for another 2. You don't lose any weight. Okay. Now we need to lessen the caloric intake total, right?
Yep.
And Phil recommends, and I do too, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, you should, if you're going to start cutting them down, start in the carbohydrate, because that's probably your biggest number at this point, right? So start with your carbohydrates, and I'm not saying cut them out completely, but start to trim off of that 12-15, right? Start to trim off of that. Hold it for 2 weeks. Okay. You didn't lose any weight. Trim it a little more. Oh, you lost 3 pounds. Hold it. And so on like that, right? Until you get to where you want to be, or your goals change, right?
Yeah, your goals definitely could change after you do this for some amount of time. And my recommendation, I agree with Daryl 100%. Carbs are usually where you want to start cutting from.
That's where you start.
They're your biggest number. They're the easiest to manipulate. Like add a banana, take away a banana. See how easy that is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very simple.
Yeah.
Go from 1 cup of rice to 3/4 cup. Then that starts to add up. And 100 calories is only 25 carbs.
Yeah.
So if you want to cut by 200 calories, that's 50 carbs. So I would go from 303 to 253. And that's a pretty easy change to make.
And if your protein is 1 gram per pound of body weight, you should probably hold that no matter what the situation is.
Whether you're trying to gain weight, and actually as your calories go down, it's usually a good idea to increase your protein. Your thermic effect of food, meaning that the amount of calories that are burned by digestion is higher.
Yep.
Don't quote me on this, but I think with protein, about 85% gets absorbed, 15% gets burned.
Something like that.
Through the thermic effect of food. With carbohydrates, it's like 95%. 93 to 95
energy
of the energy.
Yeah.
It gets conserved. Where 5 to 8% gets burned. With fats, it's like 99%.
Yeah, 99.
So,
and that's because everything uses it, right? So
well, we remember that protein and fats are necessary for our body as well.
And the quick pro tip here, or not pro tip, but like little nugget, fats are really good for your brain. Yeah. Your brain uses a lot of, it pulls a lot of its energy from fat sources, right? Clean fat sources. So I'm not saying, drink all your olive oil.
Yeah. But like, it's good. You need fats for hormone regulation, for
brain
for
function,
your joints, for your brain function, carbs as well, glucose. But the thing about carbs is your body will make its own carbohydrates.
Yes, it will.
From protein.
It'll convert them.
It'll convert as needed. I don't recommend having to do that. It's not your best source of energy.
Start with your carbs.
But bring your carbs down. But you also, it's okay to use a combination of your eating preferences as well.
Sure.
If you really love that tablespoon of peanut butter, if you really love that tablespoon of peanut butter, you might want to be more likely to cut from carbs.
Sure.
But if like getting that extra peanut butter is not a big deal for you, cut it out. Easy. Cut from the fat. Not a big deal. Yeah. If you're already using oil for your fats, just cut it out. Easy way to save 100 calories.
Yeah. So, start to adjust based off of your, I'm going to recommend carbs, but based off of your preference.
Yeah, for sure. Carbs are the easiest, but definitely use your preference.
Yeah.
But don't mess with protein.
Yeah.
Remember the two rules. The two rules are have your calories right and enough protein. If you do that, what you do with carbs and fats doesn't really matter all that much. It's more of your preference. We're just recommending,
so long as they're not excessively high or excessively low.
Yeah. Exactly.
So let's not forget, let's bring up the fact that you lost almost 100 pounds as a late teen, early 20-year-old before you ever exercised.
Oh yeah. I think that's a great point that I make with people is I like to help them separate exercise from weight loss. We kind of talked about this yesterday in the gym.
That's where I was going. Where I was going with this. I thought it was when we were talking about it, Phil and I were training yesterday, legs, obviously. Shout out Rich. He'd be proud. But we were training legs. We were talking about this, and I thought this would be a great topic to talk about, and it kind of fell right in here. So
we should do a whole show about this actually, because it's very important.
A whole show about the separation of
And like Daryl said, I lost all of my weight with nutrition only, no exercise. Exercise came into my life when I went from the kid that everybody picked on for being fat to being told that I looked too skinny and unhealthy.
Yep.
Like, well, people can't make up their mind, so let me try working out now and try to put on a little bit of weight.
Right. Or try to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm not saying this to tell anyone that you should not work out or that don't work out when you're trying to lose weight. That's not what we're saying here. Yeah. They work in harmony together for sure. But exercise is for self-confidence, to help us feel better, to have more muscle. Yep. To be happy, to be stronger, have better balance, move better, play sports, play with the kids, not fall when we're 75 and can still live alone. This is why we exercise. You do not exercise to lose weight.
Right.
Weight loss happens from what we just talked about.
Yep.
It is.
That's what I wanted to, that was where I wanted this to come back to.
In combination, but also I don't want to lie, but because I don't know the statistic off the top of my head. A massive amount of people that lose weight and keep it off exercise.
Yep.
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
I would say an overwhelming majority.
A lot of them that don't exercise end up gaining the weight back because they don't put on the muscle mass to raise the metabolism. And also, I think that just by working out, you're automatically more motivated to eat better.
Yep.
It just happens. It goes that way. So like what we recommend at the gym is when you're first getting started, don't get overwhelmed by nutrition. Eat. Everybody knows right and wrong. Everybody knows more salad, less pizza.
Yeah.
It's very simple. More salad, less pizza.
Or
Simple
chicken
stuff.
breast, less pizza.
Everybody knows what's right and wrong, but doing it is different. right? It's harder. By exercising regularly, you will be more motivated.
Because you're going to go, man, I don't want to squander that good workout I had.
Exactly. It doesn't exactly work that way. Like if you know nutrition, but mentally it works that way.
So real quick, I just looked it up. It says only about 20% of Americans who lose weight are able to keep it off long term. It says it's just long term. So I guess I'm trying to narrow it down.
Yeah, I don't remember. Exercise. It's along those lines. It's about 80%, I think. And most things fall into an 80 to Pareto's principle. You guys know Pareto's principle?
A little bit, yeah.
80-20 rule. Roughly 80. Yeah, most people that lose weight and keep it off exercise also. Sure. And I think there's a lot of psychology going on here. Like I said, when you exercise, you're more motivated to eat better. And they are very, very much different things. I think it's a great point. So
I'm going to make two last points here that are very different from each other, and then we can close this thing out.
Okay.
So first, never forget, the more lean muscle that your body has, the more that you have on your frame. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, but the more lean muscle you have on your frame, the more efficiently your body burns calories, period.
Yeah. The easiest way to think about that is it requires calories to have muscle.
Yeah. The muscle existing consumes more calories than the fat cells existing.
That's correct.
So take that for what it's worth. The more muscular that somebody is that has true lean muscle, the more they can get away with when it comes to caloric intake, right?
Fat has fat cells metabolize calories as well.
Sure.
But not nearly
to
the rate that muscle mass does.
So that's one point. Next point is, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's unrelated. I think it's related to all things fitness and especially nutrition. I had this conversation with a coworker today. People make the mistake in life in general that they mistakenly think that they have time, that they have unlimited time, that they're just granted whatever God they believe in is, they got plenty of time and they're going to live to be however old, and they'll start next week. They'll start on New Year's. They'll start next year. I think it's arrogant and I think it's irresponsible and selfish to think that you have the time. Anything can happen, man.
Your life's an emergency.
Your life is an emergency. That's an Ed Milet line. Life's an emergency. Your time is your most valuable asset, and it is an emergency. So start sooner rather than later. Don't be arrogant and don't be selfish, and do not think that your hourglass has unlimited sand on the top side. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. So, and piggyback on that a little bit. The older you get and the less you have taken care of yourself, I would say that the decline starts to happen
exponentially.
Generally speaking, the decline of your health starts to increase exponentially. So your decline is increasing, right? So you're going down. Yeah. And the more you have use proper nutrition, sleep, hydrate, and exercise, especially resistance train regularly, the less aggressive that fall is later in life. Now there's extenuating circumstances. People have accidents. Yeah. There's genetic disorders that happen. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about a generally healthy person with no outside ailments that's living to be old. If you've taken care of these four things for consistently for most of your life, then you're going to have less aggressive decline.
Great point that I have on that real quick. And I actually heard Peter Attia talking about this. And I like that guy. And I like a lot of his stuff as well. And this one really vibed with me with people that are like, here's tell me if you've heard this before. I ain't trying to look like Arnold.
Yeah.
I don't need to bench press the world. I ain't trying to be the strongest guy in the room
you're not, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
that's Arnold's response.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't.
Don't worry, you won't. Yeah. But that's just like something that came to mind with what he's talking about here. And what he's saying is everyone will decline with age.
Yes.
Period. But the higher your starting point, when you decline, you're going to be higher.
Yes. The longer the fall, I guess, right?
Exactly.
As you start to go down.
So the more you can, and what he said is the more you can bench press when you're 30, the more you're going to bench press when you're 60.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I was in the gym the other day with this guy. I was hitting legs and I was on the calf raise machine and there was this old dude,
legendary,
old ass guy, man. I see you look at my calves. You look at they're down there.
They're peaking.
They're peaking. Yeah. Dude, there was an old guy in there, man, and we were just like going back to back on the calf raise machine, and he was just getting it, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I just go until it hurts. I just go until it hurts," and he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good, and it's just like he had to be at least twice my age, I would think.
Yeah. You don't have to overcomplicate this stuff. And that's exactly, let's go
it's
ahead and
like
wrap
a compound effect. Really.
Yeah. Let's wrap this thing up by going back to the top, which is you don't have to get super advanced with this.
Nope.
This guy that was working out with Sean, he didn't know. He's like, I go till it hurts. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, cool.
He looks good. He feels good.
He looks good, feels good, performs good. He's in the gym. He's in his 60s. He's doing great.
Yep.
And so, you don't need to do all this stuff. But if you want to advance your education and you want to learn more, you're hitting a plateau and you want to get to the next level.
You want to you want to improve your health markers.
Yeah. Or your health markers aren't improving by doing the basics,
right.
Which likely they will.
They will.
They will for sure. But if you want to go to the next level, do these things, weigh the pros and cons, make sure you're good with it. Make sure that you keep a healthy relationship with food, track your food, figure out what your calories need to be, work backwards, reverse engineer, go back and listen to this again, work through it with a pen and paper and a calculator in your hand, figure out those macronutrients, do it for a period of time and adjust accordingly.
Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Me too.
Sean?
Man, that's pretty much it. I was thinking about pies earlier. We talked about pies.
Pie 3.14, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Yeah. Have y'all ever had the apple pie from Buc-ee's?
No.
Dude, it's so good.
But Buc-ee's is, everything at Buc-ee's is better.
Yeah, it's
The rainbow Rice Krispie treat.
from Buc-ee's?
Yes.
Mm.
They stopped carrying them at the smaller Buc-ee's. You got to go to the big Buc-ee's.
Yeah, the real Buc-ee's. Small Buc-ee's. Hey, we're going to get off topic on this episode. Small Buc-ee's is not Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, they have regular Rice Krispie treats, which are good too. But
they're
a little pricey. $4 for a Rice Krispie treat.
Big Buc-ee's would never do that to you.
Big Buc-ee's would never do that.
They would never do that to you.
Dude, I like those Buc-ee's barbecue sandwiches. Those things are...
Yeah. So, nutrition tip: don't eat at Buc-ee's because
stay away from the apple pies. They're addicting.
Yeah. Share with your friends, like, subscribe, and keep tuning in, y'all. We appreciate everything. Any little bit helps. Any like, any comment, any like, any share, it all helps us. And we feel like we have knowledge to share in a lot of different things, especially fitness. We want to share it because we want to help people. We don't want money off of this show. We don't have sponsors for the show. We're just trying to get info out there and help fight the health decline in America in general. Right.
Oh yeah.
We want to combat that.
Especially right here in Houston.
Right here in Houston,
which is a very unfortunately overweight.
Yeah.
Population.
But I love Houston.
Way too many Buc-ee's barbecue sandwiches.
Yes, right.
It's probably Buc-ee's fault. Shut them down. Yeah. Don't let anybody hear
Listen, if you're going to figure out a free meal into your macros, go to Buc-ee's. That's all I got.
There you go.
Done. Take us out, Sean.
Yeah, let's go.
Buc-ee's.